Hi, I'm Mike English with the Moran Company, an executive search firm that works with nonprofit organizations. There are over 1 million nonprofit organizations in the United States, but only about half of them have paid staff. So when a nonprofit board of directors decides that it's time to hire its first executive director, it's a big deal. I've been in this position before. I've been the first executive director for a nonprofit, and as a search consultant, I've led searches for nonprofits that are looking for their first executive director. Based on this experience, I have 5 recommendations for a nonprofit board of directors that's getting ready to hire its first executive director. My first recommendation is to make sure that your organization is ready. Your first executive director is going to require a salary, so obviously you need to make sure that you have funding available. Ideally, I would want to make sure that we have enough money in our bank to fund the salary of the executive director for the first year. If you do determine that you are ready financially, you also want to make sure that an executive director is actually the position you need. It may be the case that what you really need is a membership coordinator or a volunteer coordinator. And in order to do this, you can survey your board and really talk through what is the job you're looking for, what are the responsibilities that you're looking for in this role. And then at that point, you may determine that, in fact, an executive director is what you need. My second recommendation is to draft a position profile that identifies the attributes and the qualifications that you're looking for in your executive director. If you need a template, the Moran Company has a great position profile template for an executive director position. My third recommendation is to figure out what is the salary range that you can afford to pay and are willing to pay for the position. You probably want to collect some data from other nonprofits to determine a salary range that's competitive in your community. To do that, you can look at 990 tax returns. They typically include, for nonprofits, the salary for their executive director. And you can also go out to job boards in your community and just look and see what other nonprofits are offering for salaries of executive directors. And then use this data to have a conversation with your board to determine the appropriate salary range for the position. Okay, now you have a salary range, a position profile, you're ready to start recruiting. I recommend creating a search committee of 4 to 6 board members that are people that are trusted by the board and also people that have the time to put into what can be a very time-consuming process. That's my fourth recommendation, to create that search committee. Let them do their job. It typically takes 12 to 14 weeks to recruit and hire an executive director. And once that's complete, your board's gonna be very excited and probably tired from the process and maybe ready to kind of take a step back. But my fifth recommendation is to make sure that your board sets up a transition committee to provide the support that your new executive director will need. I can tell you it's a very lonely job when you're the first staff person and an executive director at a nonprofit. So it can be very worthwhile to set up a board transition committee to support the executive director and make sure they have everything they need and a structured onboarding process when they start the position. I hope these recommendations are helpful. It's a very exciting time hiring that position and really worth it to take the time to get it right. So for more information about this topic and others, I encourage you to visit the Moran Company's website, and we have a number of resources and blogs on topics like these and others.